Hi, my name is Doug Mueller. We're going to be talking about the control box in this video. So we have everything plugged in and ready to go. And so first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this box to the standby position. While it's in standby position, you can adjust your inspiratory time. You can adjust your respiratory rate. We have a manual button here, and you can also adjust your flow rate. So this is all the way turned off. When you get this, you may find that this is locked in position. You're not able to turn it. You just have to pull it out. It doesn't adjust on its own, so you can leave this pulled out at all times. That's not a problem. If you bump it or something, it's not going to adjust on you. So for a smaller animal, you're probably going to be in the low range. For a larger animal, you're going to probably be in the medium or above range. So right now I have it set at the middle of the medium range. And on this, I have my inspiratory time set at 1.5 seconds. The inspiratory time adjusts from 0.1 second all the way up to 3 seconds. That's how long it's going to be pushing the bellows down. The respiratory rate is how often in a minute it's going to be pushing the bellows down. So in this situation, it's set at 8. So in the course of a minute, it will push it down 8 times. Okay, so on the card here, we have what's called an O2 flush button, and we're going to press on that to fill up our bellows. Okay, so I'm going to do that. You can hear the bellows filling up. When it gets to the top, you can let go. We also, to keep the bellows up to the top, if there's just a little bit of slight leak or whatever, which is normal, we're going to leave this up to between 1 and 2. In another situation, if you need to, you can raise this up higher, but it goes from 0 to 10 liters per minute. But we're going to just keep it right around 1.5 to 2. And so this is actually ready to run. As you can see, as I adjust this respiratory rate, it goes from 2 all the way up to 80. So obviously, if you're doing 80 as a respiratory rate, you're going to only be able to push for 0.1 second or something like that, something really low. If your respiratory rate is down much lower, you're going to be able to push much longer. So that's basically how these controls function. This here is a manual button where you can actually add an additional breath to the patient while it's running. So that's a manual button that actually pushes the bellows down without it even cycling. So also in the case of this situation, if you lost power, I'm only going to mention this briefly because we'll talk about it more, but if you lost power, you can still continue to manually ventilate your animal. Also on this control box, we have 4 LED lights, and there's also a siren or a buzzer in the back here that will alert you to different things that come about. So when the inspiratory time light goes on, that's during the inspiratory cycle. So while it's cycling, when the inspiratory pressure is happening, that's when this light will come on. We have an inverse IE ratio. So if your ratio seems to be off on your settings and it's kind of doing an overlap, then this will go on, and that could indicate that there's a possible need for making some adjustments to your inspiratory time or your respiratory rate. We have a failure to cycle light that very rarely comes on, but if it comes on and stays on, that could be a problem that you might have to call us about. And we have a low gas pressure LED. So if your tank starts getting low and the pressure starts going down and there's not sufficient pressure in the machine, this low gas pressure light will come on, and you will also hear a buzzer go off at the same time. And that'll kind of alert you that you need to fill up your gas tank or change your gas tanks to a different bottle or something like that. So I'm going to turn it to the on position. Right now the unit is cycling. The bellows is cycling down, and the patient lung is coming up when it's pushing down. You'll see a little bit of adjustment of the needle when that's happening. that's okay. That's pretty normal for that to happen. The important thing is that you have 60 psi coming into the back of the machine at a minimum. So those are the basic functions of the control box. And put it back into standby, and that's the off position. And then when you're done using the machine for the night or so, you can turn this regulator back down. So one thing I want to say about this too is that this one is how hard you're pushing, this one is how long you're pushing, and this one is how often you're pushing. It's very important to remember that. It's kind of an easy way to remember it. Sometimes you may not want to be pushing longer, but you want to go down a little further, and so you're going to just push a little bit harder. And these kind of work in conjunction with each other, and so you'll find out what works best for you, but depending on how many cycles you want per minute. If you want to keep your respiratory rate at say 8, but you want to give a little bit more into the animal's lung, but you don't want to change your respiratory rate, you can always turn this up a little bit higher, and it will push harder and push just a little bit more in to the patient. And you can do the opposite as well.